It is Thursday, November the 7th, 2013. ESPN's College Football Game Day is here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But the most important thing is this weekend, as the Alabama Crimson Tide take on the LSU Tigers. The venue for this matchup is inside the mecca of college football, Bryant-Denny Stadium. But for now, the important event today is what's taking place at Rama Jama's. As Touchdown Alabama Magazine's own Stephen Smith and Ivan White go live with 15 and counting. Ladies and gentlemen, the show starts right now. Welcome to 15 and counting, Touchdown Alabama Magazine's premier football show, coming to you once again live from inside the heartbeat of the University of Alabama right here at Rama Jama's. Happy Thursday to all of our viewers watching us live on YouTube today. As we see here, once again, I'm your host, Stephen M. Smith. Alongside me is my co-host, Ivan White. Our usual third wheel here, Maxwell Taylor, is taking a math test today. So once again, we would like to wish him good fortune on his math test, to be able to go in, study hard, and pass the test. Well, Ivan, as I'm looking at you right now, what does fall, the month of November, and college game day all have in common?
I think it's getting around one of our, as Bama fans, one of our favorite times of the year, Stephen, LSU, Alabama time.
That is correct. This is Alabama versus LSU week right here at the University of Alabama. As we see here normally on the show, we would have our own Ivan White with a little bit more hair there, but today he is shaving a little bit. Let's talk about this, Ivan. What's going on?
I mean, I gave up on No Shave November. I cut my hair October 31st, so No Shave November, the hair is gone. I guess hopefully all my knowledge with my hair, but I don't think it did. I mean, I picked some pretty good upsets this season. Hopefully I'll be able to stay on track for the rest of the season.
Hopefully you can do just that there, Ivan. But before we get into the match between Alabama and LSU, we're going to kind of recap the Tennessee game that happened 2 weeks ago. Now, going in the Tennessee game against Alabama, for the fifth SEC conference game, Alabama totaled over 400 yards of offense. They had 479 yards against Tennessee. And the offensive line is really starting to hit stride a bit as far as run blocking and pass protecting goes. And though you have T.J. Yeldon and Kenyon Drake didn't rush for over 100 yards, they were both still very productive. You had Kenyon Drake that had 14 carries for 89 yards, and you had T.J. Yeldon with 15 carries for 72 yards and 3 touchdowns. You look at from the receiving standpoint, once again, not the breakout game from Amari Cooper, but another Bill Beck game. He had 5 receptions for 75 yards and a touchdown. And Kevin Norwood put in 6 receptions for 112 yards and a touchdown. A.J. McCarron, another efficient game from him, 19 for 27 passing for 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, which puts him at 16 touchdowns and just 3 interceptions on the season. But the story of that game, Ivan, my goodness, Landon Collins. You talk about Benny goes down, but lo and behold, the Louisiana native, Landon Collins, puts on his helmet, strappers up his boots, and goes running. An 89-yard interception return for a touchdown. What did that mean for Landon Collins and for the Alabama defense as a whole?
It meant a lot for the Alabama defense as a whole. Tennessee on that drive was starting to drive the ball a little bit better than they had in previous drives in that game. It was a very great timing for that pick 6. Alabama didn't really necessarily need that. They had a pretty big lead, substantial lead at that point. But it just showed that any chance that Tennessee had of even getting any hope of putting a lot of points and making the game even semi-interesting was shut out at that point. Landon Collins, we've been saying all season, has been one of those players that you have to watch. He's been one of the few players we've seen in Alabama history that worked his way up in one season. He worked his way up in special teams. Last year he didn't play that much. Now he's on special teams, started out the season. Now he's a starting defensive player now, and he's really solidified his role as a key player on his defense.
On that interception, Ivan, you saw where Tennessee's quarterback, Justin Worley, the throw was a wobble throw. He didn't really put enough accuracy, enough touch, enough force on the football. And as the ball's wobbling in the air, you look at Landon Collins, his comfort zone is playing at that safety position. He's able to read the play, dissect it down, and does what a safety's taught to do. Plant that left foot in the ground, break on the ball with that right foot, get the interception, not just get it, but have the mindset to have the convoy in front of you and take it 89 yards to the house. Not just take it, but have the patience to set up the block.
Yes, he did. He actually showed something that I didn't think he had. Well, I knew he had speed, but he was a little bit faster on that pick six than what I previously had believed. And like I said, though, the only thing you're missing between Vinny Cesare and Landon Collins is the experience factor. Vinny had all the most experience, but in my opinion, Landon Collins is a better athlete than what Vinny Cesare was. So that's why I said you're going to be missing the leadership and the emotional aspects of the game that Vinny Cesare had. But with Landon Collins, you're getting fresh blood in there. You're getting a brand new player that's hungry as can ever be on this team. He's finally getting his chance. And he showed that this past week or 2 weeks ago against Tennessee. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing him in his future here at the University of Alabama, because at the rate he's going, he could be one of the best safeties the university has ever had.
That is definitely true there, Ivan. Alabama's defense surrendered just 10 points to the Volunteers, surrendered just 91 yards passing to Tennessee quarterback Justin Worley, and be that as it may, the Crimson Tide defeated the Tennessee Volunteers 45-10. But now, Ivan, it's time to get down to the matchup of the week. College football game day is here. CBS Sports is here. It's a magical week right here. It's November, early November. It's time for Alabama LSU rivalry. And the first question I gotta ask here, Ivan, going into this matchup, LSU enters this matchup as an 11-point underdog. Usually in this rivalry matchup, people like to tip the cap towards LSU. The cap is being tipped towards Alabama. Alabama's going to this game with an 11-point spread being favored by, of course, by all the sports media outlets out there. So my question to you is, how is Les Miles, John Chavis, and the Tigers handling this?
They're probably handling it anyway, the same way Alabama would. These teams are very similar in everything that they do. They try and keep everything in-house. They try and make sure they have a professional manner. And LSU is probably using this as motivation. But to say that, you cannot say Alabama is overlooking LSU because they're 11-point favorites. You know Nick Saban's been praising LSU all week. He used to coach there. He knows what kind of atmosphere, what kind of fan base, and what kind of pride that program has as a whole. So he knows that this program's ready for this game. He knows that both programs are going to come out and have their A game come out, because this is one game that you circle on your calendar. One of 3 games Alabama has had circled on her calendar this year, with the A&M game being first, this game, LSU being the other game, and of course the Iron Bowl against Auburn, which is turning out to look like a very entertaining game later on in the season. But going back to LSU, if you're LSU, you never know what to expect in this game. The past 4 times the road team has won the game in this rivalry. It's been all LSU coming here and winning it in the game of the century a couple years ago. It's been Alabama as the road team winning it in the national title game. It's been Alabama last year. So this year it's going to be something different. You don't know what's going to happen. The road team normally wins in this series, but this is the first year we can actually say the home team actually has a significant advantage.
Going back to the history of this rivalry, we'll break down some historic moments. The first one starts with 2005. Of course, LSU fans remember a quarterback by the name of Jamarcus Russell. Now, of course, it was 260 pounds then, but Jamarcus Russell, in that game, played just outstanding. Broke the pocket a lot, broke containment, and eventually found Dwayne Bowe in the back of the end zone for the LSU Tigers to beat Alabama 16-13 in overtime against the Crimson Tide in 2005. During that season, Alabama had a coach by the name of Mike Schumer. Fans thought, oh my goodness, Schumer could possibly bring us back to the promised land. Unfortunately, Schumer went 9-2 that season, including the loss to Auburn that ended his coaching career with the Alabama Crimson Tide. 2009, Alabama fans remember Julio Jones, who took a 73-yard screen pass to Painter. Alabama won the game 24-15 and punched the ticket to not only defeat Florida in the SEC title game, but it went on to defeat Texas 37-21 in the BCS title game, capturing its 13th national title overall and its first since Paul Bear Bryant. Of course, 2011 game of the century, Jordan Jefferson of LSU did all he could to give LSU the victory. Of course, Alabama had special teams issues, and LSU did just enough on special teams to win the game 9-6. 2012 BCS title, Alabama played the revenge factor. Gave up just 92 yards to LSU, only allowing the Tigers to cross midfield once. And behind a great game from A.J. McCarron, 23 for 34 passing, 234 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. A poetic justice game for Jeremy Shelley, setting the BCS game record, making 5 of 7 field goals. And of course, Only one touchdown was scored in the game, but it was scored by Alabama's Trent Richardson to tie 121-0. And of course, last season's game, as Ivan mentioned, where A.J. McCarron goes from game manager to man and bona fide leader of that offense. LSU leading Alabama 17-14 with a minute 34 remaining in the game. McCarron engineers a 5-play, 80-yard drive, which was capped off by a 28-yard screen pass from McCarron to T.J. Yeldon, sticking the dagger into a record crowd of LSU fans, including the Ominous Moon and Mike Bataga down there in Death Valley, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Alabama won 21-17. But here in this matchup, fast forward to this season, I mean, let's be honest, Ivan. LSU has not had the great fortune defensively that's had in previous years. They don't have Benny Logan anymore. They don't have guys like Glenn Dorsey, Benny Logan, Barkevius Kiki Mingo, Sam Montgomery, Ricky Jean Francois, Kevin Minner, Honey Badger Tyron Matthew,
Patrick
Peterson, Eric Reed. They don't have
Claiborne.
Yes, they don't have the stout pieces that they were used to having in previous seasons. I mean, this year, the Tigers are surrendering 21.9 points per game. And outside of linebacker Naaman Barrow, they don't have that defensive core they can rely on. So, starting off with LSU on the ground, starting with Naaman Barrow, what can LSU do defensively to take the crowd out of the game and give Zach Mettenberger a shot to allow the LSU offense and company to score quickly?
It's going to be more difficult than what they believe. LSU has the same problem that Georgia had going into this season. They have a very young and untested defense. They only have 4 returning starters on defense right now, so that's being a key factor. And you can see it this season. They've been really struggling on defensive side. 21.9 points per game allowed. That is not an LSU type defense. That's not even an SEC type defense. There's been better defenses in the SEC that have done that. LSU, like you said, have had the misfortune. They have a lot of young guys out there right now. What they can try to do is load up the box and see if they can test AJ, because Virginia Tech did that, and I haven't seen any other team try that. Virginia Tech loaded up the box and said, we're going to rush AJ with everything we've got, and we're going to see if AJ can scramble outside the pocket, or if he has no time, what is he going to do? Because if you load up the box, you're going to stop the run game, obviously, and you're not going to give AJ that much time. I believe that's what Les Miles' plan is going to be coming into this game. Load up the box, pressure AJ, see what he can do. Because they had been doing that the whole previous game at LSU back in Baton Rouge last year, until that final drive where Les Miles, for some reason, dropped his cornerbacks back and played soft press coverage on them. And that's why Norwood caught, I think 3 passes, 3 of those 5 passes on that game-winning drive, because they were playing so soft off of AJ, and many people were questioning Les Miles for that. So I believe he'll remember that, and I believe that this year he'll send the blitz and load the box this time.
Along with Virginia Tech that loaded the box on Alabama, Colorado State did the same thing. Colorado State loaded the box on Alabama, forcing AJ to use his arm, to use the receivers downfield to try to beat Colorado State in the aerial attack game. But while LSU's defense is allowing 21.9 points per game, Ivan, Alabama is 11th in the nation on offense. Alabama's averaging 41.3 points per game. To win this game for Alabama, of course, A.J. McCarron has to play efficient. If a tie want to win this game, and of course, if A.J. McCarron wants to have a shot to get to New York for a chance at being in the Heisman conversation, McCarron's going to have to play a big game in that regard as well. But which receiver has to come alive in this game? Of course, many people are saying it's Amari Cooper. Many people are saying it could very well be Kenny Bell. But Amari Cooper, Kenny Bell, and Kevin Norwood, who is really the thorn in the flesh of LSU and has been the past 2 seasons, which of these receivers will be the most dependent upon to come alive in this matchup?
Well, if my prediction and my fruition does come right, as I said, that they're going to load the box, I would have to say Kevin Norwood, because he'd be that check down route, he'd be the closest down to AJ. I think Amari, who said today, I believe, that he's finally 100% healthy for the first time all season long. I believe if LSU stops loading up the box, because they do check down to Norwood as often, that he can have a very big game. But I still think Norwood is the X factor. Like you said, he's been a thorn in LSU's side ever since he's been here, and I believe that they all know that. So if he can attract even more attention to what normally a player in his position would, maybe a double team, maybe even a zone, triple zone around him, I believe that'll leave people over. But I think Kenny Bell will have the biggest game stat-wise. I think Norwood will have the biggest effect coverage-wise. And I think that's just That's just the length of the depth that Alabama has at that receiving core, because you can have Kenny Bell be your leading stat receiver, an All-American and Amari Cooper barely do anything, maybe catch 5 passes, but he'll catch 2 touchdown passes with those 5 passes because he has the long ball threat, and because if AJ does have time in that pocket, he can get the ball out there.
You talk about Kenny Bell, this could possibly be his game statistics-wise. Let's talk about Kenny Bell for a minute. Kenny Bell is a Louisiana native coming into the University of Alabama. Kenny Bell at the beginning of the season had some personal issues off the field, wanted to leave the team, but comes back via Twitter and says, I'm not leaving the team, I'm staying here to finish what has been started here at Alabama. And outside of the Texas A&M game where he caught the touchdown pass from AJ, Kenny Bell's been quiet. He hasn't been the same productive force on the field. So this could possibly be the game that we see the dominant Kenny Bell come out, as Alabama fans are hoping for. You can also not forget about Christian Jones and also O.J. Howard, who started to break out from a tight end standpoint. So A.J. McCarron is going to have a chance to get the receivers to football. The question being, can he continue to remain efficient, take it one game at a time, play it one possession at a time, and can the offensive line, who has really begun to hit his stride, block well for AJ and not create penalties? You can't have the false starts, you can't have the holdings, you can't have the delay of games. Can the offensive line remain focused on the task at hand, excuse me, and help AJ get the ball down the field to his receivers? The fourth issue here, Ivan, is Alabama has to be balanced on the ground if they want to defeat LSU. And this is where T.J. Yeldon and Kenyon Drake both come in. Don't get me wrong, both are amazing backs. They're both great change of pace backs. They keep each other fresh. They complement each other. They balance off of each other. But if there's one thing that they both need to work on, it's ball security. It almost cost Alabama in the A&M game where T.J. Yeldon fumbles the ball in the red zone. Kentucky can't score. So fortunately for that, the fumble that Drake had and Yeldon had didn't hurt Alabama against Kentucky. But against LSU, a team that has a vertical passing attack and a running back in his own right, a running game in his own right, Alabama cannot afford to fumble the ball.
No, they can't, and that's been one of the problems. I've always said when T.J. Yeldon gets the ball, I've always been scared. Not because of the talent he has as a running back, well, I am because of that, but that's not the only reason. It's because of the way he protects the ball. It always seems like he's always trying to fight for an extra yard, and when he tries to fight for an extra yard, I do give him credit. I do like that he's trying to put all the effort in to gain every yard and saving his breach, fight for every yard that you get. But with that being said, you have to know that when the fight is over, when you have to just go down and make sure that you protect the ball, and not only the ball yourself, because you can get injured if you try and stay up in a pile that long. And I think that's something TJ has yet to learn right now. And the turnover problem has really cut down over the past couple weeks. Again, the Kentucky game was about the only time it popped up. But it seems to pop up in the most key situations when Alabama does not need it to happen. Like you said, like you brought up in the A&M game, it happened in the red zone. Alabama could have gone up by 2 touchdowns at that point with under 2 minutes left, and that probably would have sealed the game. But it was a 1-touchdown game. You gave the ball back to Johnny Manziel, and you gave him a chance because of that fumble. You have to make sure if you do somehow fumble, I know it's hard to make sure that you don't fumble in key situations, but the easy thing, the solution is just don't fumble. If you don't fumble, it's key. And against LSU, a rivalry game, a big rivalry game at that, you have to make sure that you don't give them any extra opportunities, because we all know Les Miles is going to take chances already in this game. He's legendary for that in this rivalry. He's going to take chances any opportunity that he gets. It could be 4th and 15 at the 50-yard line. There's always a possibility Les Miles will go for it at that point right there.
4th and 15, Ivan?
It's Les Miles. You can never guess. You can never second guess what he's going to say or what he's going to do as a coach. But you just have to make sure that you don't give him any extra opportunities as a team.
Fake punt?
Fake punt. He's done fake punt. He's done many things on us last year. He should have. I believe, in my opinion, I'm an Alabama fan. Everybody knows that. But I believe last year in Baton Rouge, he should have gone for it on that 4th down instead of attempting that long field goal to put the game out of reach for Alabama.
That is true. That you bring up a valid point there, Ivan. But going back to T.J. Yeldon and Kenyon Drake, they have to hold the ball high and tight. And this is what running back coach Burt Burns has been trying to get them to buy into. They have to hold the ball high and tight. And not just that. When you recognize you have 2 or 3 LSU defenders on you, just go down. Protect the football and go down. I know you want to get the yards at the contact, but protect the football, go down, and play the next play. With defensive backs and linebackers have gotten better over the years is not only just ripping the ball out with your hands, but using that helmet, getting the crown of that helmet on the football and popping the ball out. And one thing that Coach Saban is a stickler for, he's a stickler for ball security. Just like he's a stickler for execution, perfection in the process, he's a stickler for holding on to that ball and keeping Alabama in possession of the football. Which leads us to this next question now, Ivan. Do you see both T.J. Yeldon and Kenyon Drake possibly surpassing 100 yards in this game?
I don't see both of them passing 100 yards. And that's because I believe another player will surpass 100 yards, and I believe it'll be Christian Jones. I believe he'll be more of a factor than more people presume he will be because of he can do three different positions. He can be a kick returner, he can be a wide receiver, he can be a running back. And I think his versatility as a player as a whole is going to come in this game because in the Alabama LSU rivalry, there's not been that many players that can do that. You haven't seen, I would guess the only people I can think of would be Patrick Peterson when he was a returner and a cornerback, and they flirted with the opportunity to put him at wide receiver against make but that was just to send mixed signals at the Crimson Tide defense. And I think now Christian Jones, and now Saban knows that Les Miles tried pulling that move a couple years ago with Patrick Peterson. So I think this year he's going to use Christian Jones in that way that Les Miles didn't fully use to its full power. And I believe Christian Jones, but I think T.J. Yeldon has to get over 100 yards if they expect to win this game. I know this is a very young LSU defense. You don't know, they're untested. They've had certain games against like Ole Miss that this defense surely could have stepped up more than what they did.
And Georgia.
Of course, Georgia, the game where they gave up 44 points to Georgia. You cannot do that as a defense, give up over. In the SEC especially, you're not supposed to give up over maybe 30 points as an SEC defense. So Yeldon has to make sure he shows up, but again, Christian Jones is going to be my key player in this game.
I like that big in Christian Jones, and not just his return factor, like you mentioned, as a receiver in the slot, and they could fling him around, put him right beside McKinnon, have him play running backs, or whatever Coach Saban decides to do in the play call of Doug Nussmeier with Christian Jones. That's going to be interesting to see right there. Another factor for Alabama, defensively the Crimson Tide is #1 in the nation, allowing 9.8 points per game. Outside, of course, Johnny Manziel, Alabama has yet to face a quarterback that has a dominant passing attack until this week when they face Zach Mettenberger. Now, with how Clinton Dix returned, which came at a great time, by the way, and with Landon Collins stepping up, how does Alabama's secondary attack the dynamic duo at receiver of LSU with Jarvis Landry, who has 58 receptions this season for 882 yards and 8 touchdowns, and Odell Beckham Jr., that has 48 receptions this season for 1,009 yards and 8 touchdowns. You have two very vertical receivers, quick receivers, can take the top off a defense with good speed. They can run great routes. They know how to get open. They faced Bama before. How does the secondary with Clinton Dix's return, Landon Collins stepping up, and more Jesus, Dion Blue possibly playing in this game, how does Alabama's secondary try to combat this dynamic duo of a passing attack?
Well, there's something you said that's kind of bothering me. I've listened to your entire statement, but there's something that you said keyword, a dynamic passing attack, and this week they will face. In my opinion, I haven't seen enough from Zach Mettenberger as a quarterback to say he's a dynamic passing attack. If you look at the defenses they played, the good defenses they played, like Florida, they only put up 17 points against Florida. That was not an easy win for LSU against an elite defense. Georgia's defense is exactly like LSU's defense. They are young in the tooth. They have a lot of new starters on that defense, so you're expected to take advantage of that. Since the Alabama game last year, I really haven't seen a lot of games consistently from Zach Mettenberger to call him a dynamic passer. But the reason I do believe that he's helped out is because of, like you said, the receiving core he has. He is very lucky to have the receiving core that he has because he has a lot of help. Many people say the same thing about A.J. McCarron, but he's proven more because he's got the national championship. He's got the rings to prove it, to back it up. Zach Mettenberger is a quarterback that, as I keep saying, he played good in the game against Alabama last year. And people said a lot this offseason. Cam Cameron, the new offensive coordinator for LSU, has installed new packages, installed new plays to help Mettenberger look better. But the games they've lost, and now it beat Georgia, they put up 41 points. That still wasn't enough to beat Georgia. They put up 20-something points against Ole Miss. And Ole Miss defense, which might have had a #1 recruit in the nation starting as a freshman in that game. and they still somehow found a way not to put up enough points, but yet somehow Zach Mettenberger is still a dynamic elite passer. So this game is going to be up to his receivers to bail him out. And if he wins this game, then I can finally say he's an elite dynamic passer. But until then, until he beats Alabama, an elite defense, I can't say he is.
So you're calling out Zach Mettenberger right here on 15 and counting.
I mean, I'm calling him out on the show better than what we called him last year on his cell phone number.
Oh my goodness! So Zach Mettenberger is being called out live right here on this show, 15 and counting. But not the Alabama Ivan. LSU always keeps fresh running backs in the stable. The running back core for LSU is led by Jeremy Hill. Jeremy Hill has 128 carries for 922 yards this season and 12 touchdowns. They also have Terrence McGee that has 50 carries for 376 yards and 5 touchdowns. And you can't even overlook Alfred Blue and Kenny Hilliard. Kenny Hilliard has 58 carries for 270 yards and 6 touchdowns. And the one thing about all these LSU backs, they're all physical at the point of attack. They're tough runners in the hole. They can take the yard after contact. They know how to get the tough yards. But don't think for a second that these guys aren't quick. These guys have that second gear. When they get to that second level, they can make something happen. So with that being said, Alabama defensively being led by, of course, C.J. Mosley. What must Alabama do to stop the run in the middle, negate the perimeter from the LSU backs, and force Zach Mettenberger to beat you with his arm?
Attack the ball carrier. And what I mean by that is if one man has him wrapped up, as Alabama's done a lot this season, you will see a swarm of Crimson Tide players running toward that man to make sure that they bring him down. Jeremy Hill is one of those players that scares me the most on that LSU team because we really haven't been tested by a power back, which is something that you can't see. Normally for an SEC team, you normally don't say that every year, but Jeremy Hill is one of the throwback backs to the old running ground and pound, Herschel Walker kind of way. And that's what Georgia thought they had with Herschel. Unfortunately, that they got shut down due to injuries this year. But you have to say Jeremy Hill is one of the key players because Alabama against Texas A&M, that's a run and shoot team. They're just going to run it maybe 2 or 3 times, and if they do run it, it's Manziel, their quarterback, running it the majority of the time. So they run the pass the ball very well. Again, Ole Miss was thought to be that team. We have a quarterback that's one of the toughest quarterbacks in all of college football. They shut him down because their leading running back, well, it was their in my running back that I thought was possibly the Heisman race.
We're sorry, Jeff Scott. We're sorry.
We thought a little too highly of you, I guess, but we haven't been tested yet as a team against a power back. And Jeremy Hill has shown he can run over some boys, but he's not run over C.J. Mosley. C.J. Mosley, an All-American, one of the greatest linebackers.
Finalist for the Butkus Award this year.
Yeah, finalist for the Butkus Award. One of the greatest linebackers to ever suit up for the University of Alabama, arguably. And with that fact, this is why I love this rivalry so much, because I'm predicting Alabama to do the same thing. I believe it's going to be a chess match. I think anything Les Miles does, Saban will be like, well, we have better players, we have a better defense than you. We can do anything better than you. That's why I picture, if they want Zach Mettenberger to get the job done, do what they're going to do to AJ. Rush him, load up the box. Jeremy Hill, can you pass block? We know you can run, but can you pass block before Mettenberger can get the time? That's what I really want to see. Jeremy Hill will get his yards on the ground. That's what I've been finally trying to get to, is can Jeremy Hill pass block to give him enough time?
And another thing about Jeremy Hill, as it was mentioned on ESPN, that Jeremy Hill has had nightmares because of this game. Remember last year, it wasn't the yards that Jeremy Hill got, it was the yards that he couldn't get that ultimately led to the loss for LSU. So wondering, will Jeremy Hill be able to play that revenge factor in this game for LSU against the Alabama Crimson Tide? Ivan, last season, Zach Mettenberger's best performance was against Alabama. I mean, he completed 69% of his passes. He had a touchdown pass to Jarvis Landry and completely looked in rhythm in the game. And if it wasn't for a few questionable calls from Les Miles, lo and behold, LSU would have probably won the football game. Last season, against non-conference teams, Zach Mettenberger was completing 70% of his passes. Against the SEC, 30%. But against Alabama, he let rip. And like I said, he completed 69% of his passes. Under the leadership of offensive coordinator and quarterback coach Cam Cameron, Mettenberger has become, quote-unquote, a new man this season. He started to spin the pigskin well, the football beautifully. He's gained some confidence from doing that. He's completing 65.4% of his passes this season for 2,492 yards, 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, with a quarterback rating of 177.1. Now last season, though he was efficient, LSU still lost. So, with the pressure being back on Mettenberger this season to get the job done, what was Mettenberger doing this game to kind of upstage McCarron, if he can, and win the football game for LSU?
He has to play mistake-free football to begin with. Last year in the game, he had a very good game. But in my opinion, last year's defensive backs for Alabama, even though you can say it was a very talented backfield with D. Milner, I believe that was the only player we had. I believe this year we have quarterbacks that are mostly on the same level, but they're more in sync with chemistry-wise. They all know, they all trust each other, especially the safeties back there. With the rotating safeties we've had this year with Hotham, Dixon's suspension, Vinny Cesari's injury and all that, we've had to rotate players, and the fact that they haven't missed a stride in any game, it seems like, says a lot about the chemistry and the teammate and the trust factor that I've been talking about all season. Zach Mettenberger's got to make sure that he knows where every safety is at. He has to make sure that he knows where any linebackers are at. But CJ Mosley does have, we haven't seen it a lot this season, he does have the athleticism to drop back into coverage and cover the tight ends that LSU will try and throw at us. So I believe Zach Mettenberger just has to make sure he plays smart, efficient football. Now, he's going to have to. His coach is going to put it on his shoulders to take chances. And I believe, in my opinion, I've never said this before, I believe that's the reason LSU really hasn't had a famous quarterback, because Les Miles takes so many chances. He makes his quarterbacks take so many chances due to his play calling that he really doesn't give him a chance to shine. If he can play, and Alabama quarterbacks really don't get shine out of the NFL, but in college football they're always praised because they're always, they say, game managers. And by that, AJ never throws passes that he shouldn't throw, or he never throws passes, or he rarely throws passes that are incomplete, that are just, you say, oh, I'm glad he was incomplete because I don't know who he was throwing to. Les Miles will try a Hail Mary at random times during the game, and you're just wondering why is he doing that. The quarterback gets judged. Zach Mettenberger, I said it earlier already, you're going to have to step up if you want to become an elite SEC quarterback.
He's going to very well have to step up in this game, Ivan, and not just Zach Mettenberger, LSU's offensive line, because you're coming into Alabama, you're coming into Bryant-Denny Stadium on this Saturday, and those fans with the shakers and those seats that play for 4, stay for 4, this is going to be a very raucous stadium. Probably for more raucous than the Ole Miss game earlier this season. That was not as it was. But in this game here against Alabama, the offensive line of LSU, they can't have false starts, you can't have penalties, and you have to protect Mettenberger from Alabama's defensive front four. And that's the thing that I'm getting to. Alabama's front four has got to get a pass rush. A lot of people have stated earlier in the season that Adrian Hubbard may be the guy. He hasn't been the guy thus far. Alabama has generated just 11 sacks this season. And how about this? Almost half of them have been by a true freshman. 6'4", 320-pound Sean Robinson has 4 of the 11 sacks for Alabama. He has almost half. So if I'm the Crimson Tide, if you're looking at Stinson, Xavier Dixon, Hubbard, and Sean Robinson pass rush, you have got to affect Mettenberger. Now, if I'm the defensive coordinator, Kirby Smart, of course you're going to always have C.J. Mosley or Trey Priest or even Jeffrey Payton kind of come with a blitz in some form of fashion. But you've got to get something happening with that front four. If it's nothing more than to contain the outside and force a difficult running game, or just make Zach Mettenberger feel uncomfortable back there, Alabama's front four has got to get a push.
Yeah, and I believe the reason they haven't got as many sacks this season is because, well, in my opinion, defensive line's been doing their job very greatly this season because they've been doing what defensive tackles are supposed to do. What defensive tackles are supposed to do is supposed to clog the holes or make sure that the linemen they're going to have to double team them for the linebackers can get back there and get sacks in the backfield. We haven't gotten sacks. We've gotten stops in the backfield of key moments. The safety sack against Bo Wallace in the Ole Miss game, that was huge because the defensive tackles clogged up the holes and the linebackers got to shoot through. Another reason is because Alabama really hasn't had a game where they've had to blitz a lot this season. Against A&M and Manziel and the A&M team, you don't really blitz Manziel because he can easily elude you and escape the pocket. You don't blitz against Ole Miss because really you have to judge what they're going to see with that option. You can't blitz against Tennessee because there's no need to blitz because their quarterbacks are horrible. In Kentucky, you can't. Same thing. I'm not going to get on Kentucky. There's many games where we didn't have to really send a blitz. This is going to be a game where we finally have to send a blitz possibly, and we're finally going to have to be tested and see what we're going to have to do.
That is definitely true there, Ivan. But we're going to get to the Alabama LSU predictions later on in the show. But next on the docket here, we got some SEC and national action taking place in college football this weekend right after this.